This is the news. Filthy convicted paedophile Huw Edwards has been spared jail, despite being found guilty of being in possession of indecent images and videos of boys as young as 7 years old. We've spoken a lot recently about the two-tier judiciary system here in the UK. In fact, I've spoken in many videos about the extreme sentences being given out for what can be considered to be relatively minor offences. However, when someone as protected and privileged as Huw Edwards, former BBC News reporter, is spared jail for such sickening offences, meanwhile people are being locked up for offensive Facebook posts, it goes to show that it really is one rule for one and another rule for another. Aside from the sickening images and videos that Huw Edwards was found to be in possession of, it is also somehow remarkable that the mobile phone that he used to text some of these victims was never found by police. However, the people speculating that this is some form of cover-up in order to further protect Mr. Edwards may potentially have grounds for a point. The mother of one of the teenage boys who was groomed by Huw Edwards has come out and questioned just how many more victims there may be. Now, it's important to consider in instances of child pornography and of child sexual abuse that it isn't just the direct victims who are victims. It's not just the boys that Huw Edwards was sending and receiving indecent images and videos to and from. It is also the other minors who Huw Edwards was in possession of images and videos of. The demand from wealthy, powerful, influential people such as Huw Edwards is a major factor in keeping the demand for these sorts of sickening images and videos alive. It's their money and their influence which puts the money in the pockets of the people further up the chain that are making and distributing this material. The mother of a teenager groomed by Huw Edwards has questioned if there were more victims out there. The fallen BBC star avoided prison, but his phone was never examined. So, at this moment in time, the phone is said to have gone missing. However, it seems like at the start of this investigation, possibly when Huw Edwards was initially suspended on suspicion by the BBC, his phone was very much still in his possession. However, at no point was this ever examined by the police. I don't know whether any of you noted the difference in appearance between Huw Edwards' first court appearance when he turned up somewhat looking like a wannabe rock star with his sharp suit, designer shades and surrounded by an entourage of security and police, and how he appeared in court for sentencing yesterday, dressing down, making sure he looked dishevelled. The judge has spoken out about how he was impressed by Huw Edwards' level of remorse for his crimes, and that was one of the mitigating factors which was considered when he was handed a 2-year suspended jail sentence. Now, just in case you're not from the UK or you're unaware of what a suspended jail sentence is, basically this means that as long as he doesn't re-offend in a set period of time, he will not spend a single day behind bars. Sorry to interrupt the video, only 5% of the people who watch these videos regularly are actually subscribed. If you don't mind just hitting that subscribe button, it's completely free, there's no obligation, you can unsubscribe at any time and there would be no hard feelings from me. There's also a link in the description below if you fancy buying me a pint. It says buy me a coffee, but a pint's much better, isn't it? Particularly on a warm day like today. Anyway, back to the video. However, in so many of the instances I've spoken about recently, including the guy who got several weeks in prison for merely sharing a Facebook post, the guy who was sentenced to months behind bars for waggling his finger at police and shouting nasty words, and even the person I spoke about just yesterday who dressed up as the Ariana Grande bomber and went to a Halloween party, who is liable to be jailed for up to 2 years for causing offence. However, the elite and protected Huw Edwards, who is now a convicted paedophile, is spared prison as long as he doesn't re-offend in that set period of time. The word paedophile, I believe, is one that is bandied about far too much. It is often used as a way to refer to people who are just your common garden variety nonce. However, with the victims of Mr. Edwards being as young as 7 years old, he can legitimately be defined as a paedophile, and as such should be punished to the full extent of the law with relation to the crimes he has committed. It's very easy, and I certainly think it's a factor, to blame Huw Edwards' protected status, his former BBC employee, his household name status, on the reason he hasn't been sent to prison. However, it seems that his case is not a unique one. Doing some research, I found at least 12 other instances where convicted paedophiles were spared prison, handed either a suspended sentence like Huw Edwards, or given a community order, which basically means having to do some unpaid work on your time off, which Huw Edwards has got a lot of now, in order to repay your debt to society. This is not justice. It's not justice for the victims, and it's not justice for Huw Edwards, who should be spending his time behind bars. The judge showed concern about the welfare of Mr. Edwards, who claimed he was suffering from mental health issues, should he be imprisoned. It's widely known that child sex offenders and paedophiles such as Huw Edwards are treated very badly in prison by other inmates. Which is totally understandable. Just because you're a convicted criminal, it doesn't mean that you view child sex offenders with any less disgust than people who have never committed a crime in their lives. So, how many tiers are there to this justice system? There's quite clearly one for us working class Brits. There's quite clearly a separate one for people who are at the opposite end of the political spectrum, and that includes those people who may not be here in the most legal manner. And there seems to be yet another tier for the social elite, those with protected characteristics such as former BBC employees and Huw Edwards. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below, and let's hope that in whatever capacity it comes, the victims of Huw Edwards get their justice. Stay safe and stay sane, everyone.